I'd like us to ask ourselves if we can think of two radically different ways of what it might mean to treat a Torah scroll with sanctity, as something precious. In this week's Parsha, the Torah says that when a king ascends to a throne, he should write a Torah scroll. It'll be with him and he'll read it all the days of his life, in order that he shall fear God, not be haughty, devote himself to God, to Torah and mitzvot. Now, this Torah scroll he was learning from, but he wasn't learning all the time. The rabbi said that he would take it with him in war, in judgment, at a meal. He wouldn't be opening up the Torah scroll in a meal. He wouldn't be waiting to return Canaan Valley. First I have to read from the Torah. But it says, it would be with him at all times. He would have a miniature scroll. It would hang like an amulet from a bracelet, and he would always be seeing it. And it would always be focusing him on his obligations, his responsibility, shaping the way he saw himself and the world. That's one aspect of how you treat something with sanctity. This is what I advise our students, future rabbis. You always have a Torah with you. You always have a volume of the Torah, of the Talmud, of Tanakh, of some area of Torah. And when you're on the bus or you're on the subway, you're opening it up, you're looking at it, you're reading, you're always learning, you're always engaging, thinking about your responsibilities. And even when you're not reading from it, it's there with you. And you're seeing it. And it's shaping your perspective of your identity and of who you are. But there's another way that we can show sanctity. And that's the opposite. The rabbis tell us that the king would have another scroll that he would keep locked up in his treasure house. Now, what good does that do anyone? It's a way of showing that the Torah is high, is elevated, is sacred, is something beyond the mundane, it's protected. You only take it out once in a blue moon. You dust it off, you wear gloves. It shows the honor of the Torah, but it doesn't really help us in terms of bringing the Torah into our lives. The Torah scroll in the Ark is one that has a lot of rules. You don't take it out anytime you want. You take it out for certain ritual purposes, even bringing it to a mourner's house only under certain circumstances, if it'll be there for a certain period. It restricts access. Now, there it's restricting access and use. It's a continuum. But here, you would have two extremes. And the rabbis are telling us, don't think the extreme of locking it up is the best way to show sanctity. It's like the furniture that gets covered with plastic and nobody ever sits on it, not even the company who it's covered for. That is a sanctity that locks away your Yiddishkeit, locks away your Torah, your tradition, and keeps it so precious that it doesn't impact you or your life. The sanctity we show, the Torah scroll, the vibrant Torah of our lives, is bringing it in to the dirt and to the dust, being with us on the subway, sanctifying every step, every encounter, every way in which we live our lives. Shabbat Shalom.